Hey everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to bring you another installment of 2020 debuts that I loved. So after I filmed and made that first video, I felt so bad because I knew I was leaving out so many people, and I still am in this video. I feel like this is a never-ending series essentially. But today I wanted to share 10 more 2020 debuts that I absolutely loved. I don't have them all with me. I wish I did, but I don't. And as well, this is by no means a comprehensive list. I've loved so many books from 2020 and so many books from 2021. Like, so many books within the last 2-3 years that have just absolutely melted my heart, made it so emotional. Like, so many beautiful, great debuts. And I just want to talk about some of them. These are the only 4 that I have here. So, as you can tell, I'm missing 6. So let me just start with them. I have a list over here, if you see me looking over here. And so we're just going to go through that list. The first one is Alicia Dow. Alicia wrote The Sound of Stars. This one is, okay, first of all, YA sci-fi, give it all to me. I freaking love YA sci-fi. And The Sound of Stars is one of my favorite ones because it talks about music and love and connection and empathy in this futuristic sci-fi world with aliens. So basically it's set on Earth, but there are aliens, and it kind of gives me like a, I wouldn't say War of the Worlds vibe, because that's not really like War of the Worlds, it's zombies in it, but there's definitely a futuristic feel to the world, but there's also so many pieces of the world that ground us to like the contemporary world that we're living in. It is just so amazing. The Kindred comes out next year, which is Alicia's second book. So definitely please add The Kindred to your TBR, and also make sure that you pick up The Sound of Stars, especially if YA sci-fi is also your genre of like choice and you want to join me. The next one is A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne Brown. This one is an enemies to lovers stories about 2 people, one of them who is trying to kill the other one. And then also it's just like so grounded in its motivations of family and sacrifice, and what would we do for family, and how are our personal past and dreams and ambitions and loves separate from our family. It was just such a fantastic one, and it's also a series, so definitely read A Song of Wraith and Ruin so you can get ready for the next one, which is, I'm pretty sure, A Psalm of Storms and Silence. I can't remember, but I remember that it's S and S and not R and I think it's S and S. I don't know. I will leave the cover of it here, but anyway, it's something that you definitely should catch up on for the sequel. It is also such a beautiful book, and I just loved it so much. I remember reading this at the same time as I was reading a few other ones that were also enemies to lovers. I think I was reading this one also at the same time as I was reading A River for All Blood. I think so. Anyway, A Song of Race and Ruin is just so fabulous. I love it so much, and I definitely need to reread this one before the sequel, which I'm pretty sure comes out in November, but I could be wrong. Anyway, if anyone wants to reread this one, join along with me. But this one was just so fabulous, especially if you want enemies to lovers, and also so grounded in family ties and family sacrifice, and also want to bite off a sequel. The next one is Sophie Gonzalez, and Sophie wrote Only Mostly Devastated. I'm looking at my phone because I keep forgetting the names of all these books. Only Mostly Devastated, which is a queer retelling of Grease, okay? I'm not like a huge fan of Grease. I've seen Grease, I'm pretty sure, but I'm familiar with the story and like the characters and stuff. But what I really loved about this retelling is that it specifically talks about transformation, and I know that transformation is a huge theme in Grease, but I feel like for it to be queer and for it to be like a queer take of it, it brought this whole new lens about like being comfortable with your identity, and not only in a like, okay, I want to wear all black kind of way, but in a being comfortable with your own sexual identity, with your friends, and like reevaluating that and renegotiating that for you and what it means, the ramifications of it. And Only Mostly Devastated was also just, it balanced like those serious topics also with a lot of heart and hilarity and like humor and lightness as well. So it just was one of those books that gives you both of these emotional highs and lows essentially. Also, I read Sophie Gonzalez's next book, which came out this year, Perfect on Paper, and that one was so good. It reminded me of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Maybe that like dates me as a person, but it reminded me of Chicken Soup for the Soul and writing letters and like being one of those people, which I definitely would, like the main character of Perfect on Paper, who like thinks that they're qualified to give people a bunch of advice, but also is really bad at taking advice, and also maybe needs to think a little bit more critically about their own life. That would be me. So you should definitely just read both of those books by Sophie Gonzalez. The next one is by Nita Tyndall, and it's Who I Was With Her. This one was super nostalgic for me because it takes place with the main character is running cross country. I mean, cross country track, like same difference, right? Cross country, I ran cross country in high school, was absolutely awful at it. Like, I'm not a runner. I was awful at it. All of my friends did cross country, which is why I did cross country. But that was super nostalgic. But what I also really liked is that it talks about a situation that I thought was like remarkably relatable. Not necessarily to me, but like within readers, I feel like, because this one was where the main character is actually dating another character who died, and so no one knew that she was queer, but she was queer, and she was dating the other character who died. And so it's also so much obviously about grief, but like grief that no one knows. No one knows that you have this really deep emotional connection and love, and you can't express it, and you can't like feel like you can display that in the way that you want to. So it was kind of grief, but in a different lens than maybe you might be used to. But it was also such a beautiful book about loss and about realizing like that once the person you love dies, they don't like turn into this magical being, right? They still were that person that was who they were with you, who I was with her, who they were with you, and their flaws and mistakes, they still exist, and you don't have to kind of memorialize them as being perfect, right? They were humans, they were flawed, and you loved them. I feel like I see a lot of books where someone dies and then it's really hard for characters to talk about the bad things that happened, their flaws, the mistakes. And we almost feel like, oh, because they've died, we have to only say nice things about them, and we only have to remember the nice things. But so much of who that person was like them as a person and them as being flawed human individuals, and it's important to recognize both of those things basically. And so that's what Who I Was With Her talks about, and that's why I really loved it. The next one is La Bizzona. This is by Romina Garber. This one is just so I can't, how many times am I going to talk about how much I love La Bizzona? This one has the tagline, undocumented, unprotected, unafraid. It's about immigration, it's about identity, but it's also about this magical kind of soccer, also with a magical school and like a magical world building system. It has just so many different lenses and angles and things that La Bizzona talks about. Like, it talks about gender stereotypes, it talks about immigration and being illegal and prejudice. Like, it talks about all of those different things all in one duology. Like, it is just, it is so good. And I also read the sequel, which is Cazadora. Cazadora is amazing. I read that sequel and I was like, I needed a moment to sit with my feelings afterwards. But you can read both of them now, and I would really, really highly recommend it, especially if you love magical sports, especially if you love discussions of gender stereotypes and also of immigration. The next one is Liz Lawson, and Liz Lawson wrote The Lucky Ones, which like emotionally hit me deep in the gut. Okay, I picked up The Lucky Ones on a whim from NetGalley because Mike Lasagna was talking about it like nonstop. So I picked it up and I was like, oh, okay, I'm really excited for this one. I read it in one sitting. Like, I remember sitting in front of my fireplace reading it and being like, I cannot stop reading. It was emotional. It talks about grief, but like emotional absorbing, basically. That was how I can think of reading The Lucky Ones, because it was about grief and about love and friendship and family. Like, it was just so good, so beautiful, so heart-wrenching. I cried. Like, it was an emotional sitting at just a few hours, basically. I can read pretty fast. I think The Lucky Ones took me, I want to say like 4 hours. But yeah, that was 4 hours of me just sitting there reading and just crying. It's a really great recommendation for me when I can say, hey, read this book. It made me cry. So those are the best kinds of recommendations, right? That's what you're here for. The next one is Where Dreams Ascend by Janella Angeles. This one is just so fiery, right? So after I read Where Dreams Ascend, I was just so inspired because the main character is so ambitious and fierce and like determined and committed. She is just so amazing. I love her so much, and I also love that the main character wants to be a magician in a world where women are mostly like magician assistants basically, but she wants to be like the magician, full stop, basically. And so that journey against this very deeply kind of gender stereotyped world, and her journey to like believe in herself and to fight up against these and the magic systems and her own kind of secrets, it just is so amazing. And it has like this background of a circus and a competition, so like a magical performance with also a competition, and it has circus elements in it which are really fabulous. It is just so amazing. I remember seeing someone saying that the comps for Where Dreams Descend are like the Gilded Wolves and the Night Circus, essentially, and I think that those are pretty accurate. I haven't read the Night Circus, but like circus, it has circus vibes. You know, what else can go wrong? Also, it's a duology, and the sequel, When Night Breaks, is also out, so you definitely should read it, because I read the sequel and it like took all the fiery main character emotions from the first one and just amplified it in a way that I loved. It also forced the main character to reevaluate herself and her ambitions and like what she truly wants. So Where Dreams Descend is just amazing. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And I'm doing a makeup look right now for the sequel, When Night Breaks, because it is a gorgeous cover and I wanted to do like a very graphic, performance-esque makeup look for that book. The next one is Ciara Smith, and Ciara wrote the Falling in Love montage, which was so amazing because it is so firmly rooted in like rom-coms and stuff, so it was really fun to read it because the main character and the love interest, like one of them is really obsessed with rom-coms and the other one isn't too much. And so it's really fun to see these two characters relate to each other and relate to the movies, and especially as they like continue on to watching the movies. And also I think the number one thing I love about the Falling in Love montage is that the narrative voice is so unique and quirky, and just like you can hear it so well in your head. The Falling in Love montage is just one of those perfect examples of a narrative voice that becomes so embodied and comes alive in your head. It is amazing, and I really loved reading it because it was like a person talking to you, right? And I know that all these books kind of are supposed to be like people talking to you, but the Falling in Love montage just has this really unique personality, character-driven narrative style in its essence. I can't really describe it better than that. If you've read it, please let me know down below, because that's the best way I can say it, really. And Ciara Smith came out with another book, which was published in 2021, called Not My Problem, which is on my TBR. I'm really excited for it because the Falling in Love montage was queer, and I'm pretty sure that Not My Problem is also queer. So they're both queer contemporary YA books. The next one I want to talk about is Kester Grant. Kester Grant wrote The Court of Miracles, which is a Les Mis retelling meets The Jungle Book. I haven't read The Jungle Book, but I've watched Les Mis, and I think that that comparison is spot on. I'm having trouble showing you the book because it is so freaking gorgeous. This is the UK edition. Love the gold and papers. Like, it is a stunning, stunning book. It has this really fun under the jacket design, I guess, but it is this really, really fabulous, it's also a series, by the way. It is a really, really fabulous Les Mis retelling that really, really delves into character motivation and character struggle and character sacrifice. I think kind of like Les Mis does, right? Les Mis looks a lot at characters and what you're willing to do for each other, and loyalty and love and friendship and family. And so since this one is the Les Mis retelling, it was just so fabulous, and kind of like what you can see in the cover design. What I also really loved about The Court of Miracles is that it does this thing that I love so much, which is this idea of this glittering kind of elite society, but underneath there's this like corrupt, greedy kind of underworld. So I like to call it the decadence and the decay. You know, it does this so well because it kind of has this beautiful gilded world, which is essentially just built with blood, sweat, and tears. So definitely have to recommend this one, and it's a series as well, so definitely check this one out. And the last one is Abigail Hing Wen, and Abigail wrote Love Boat Taipei. This is a contemporary series. I don't really read a lot many contemporary series, but it was so good. It was like studying abroad meets reconnecting with your roots, meet like evaluating who you are separate from your family. It was like such a fantastic contemporary. I think that if people really liked some of the themes of discovery and family and like self-evaluation essentially that are in, for example, that Jenny Han series, the Laura Dean series essentially, that you would really like Love Boat Type A, because it has some of those really core themes in Love Boat Type A, and it has this beautiful setting of Taipei, and this idea of love and romance and like meeting someone and what that means to you as a person. It is amazing. As I said, it's a contemporary series, and the sequel is coming out, I want to say soonish. It might be coming out in 2023. Anyway, you definitely need to read Love Boat Type A so you can get caught up before the sequel, which is, I don't even know what the sequel actually of the second one is. But anyway, it's one of my favorite contemporaries that I read, 2020 debut style. And it also is a series, so that's super unique as well. That brings me to the end of these 10 2020 debut authors that I really loved. I'm really glad that I was able to film another one of these. I'm going to get together another list of other like debut categories, especially since 2021 is coming to an end, and I want to do another one for 2021. So I was so happy to film this. Please comment below what your favorite 2020 debut was, and let's just talk more about love for authors that came out, that released their books in a time of terrifying state of the world, essentially. I will leave all the book links and my reviews down below so you can check them out and also maybe pick up a copy for yourself. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!